there's some interesting ideas pitched in there to make Algorand be more like an Ethereum style, proof of stake chain, which could attract liquidity. It could attract new users, especially with having a more sustainable business. But I don't know. I think some of the stuff in there might be a little too radical at this moment, especially because we still have no idea what the changes for Algorand with the whole, Gambit and all the stuff that's planned, incentivizing nodes and everything and relays getting, turning to peer-to-peer gossip. We still have no idea how those things are going to work out and what change that could, or what that could facilitate. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think we got to, 2024 is going to be an interesting year for Algorand. And even like I asked Stacey, I think it's a do or die year. Like, honestly, I think if Algorand doesn't capitalize this year on these changes and attract liquidity and really flex what it can do, not saying Algorand's going to die. Like, I think big businesses could still choose Algorand and maybe some of the things, that Algorand's fit for, it will. But I think the whole NFTs, DeFi, it might just get sucked out and go somewhere else to other chains. I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, we will see, but let's move forward.
We'll maybe we can even get the team from Vestage to comment on their thoughts as well. But let's bring them on.
So, we're gonna bring the team from Vestage on. Mariano and Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey guys,
how's it going?
Hey.
Hello.
Always great to hear that DeFi on Algorand might die.
What a great topic to start a conversation with us.
Right? Hey, that's why we bring you guys on, because from a user standpoint and from our standpoint, it is unique versus you guys are building. I mean, we've had Folks Finance on before. We've had past, iterations of DeFi projects. We obviously are partnered with Messina and we see what they're building in the space. And, there is excitement, but, to me, it's like, when you look at the macro scale of where crypto's at, it does seem like Algorand is kind of just, catching the tails, right? And I want to see it do way more. Just like, Greg, you created the juicing thing for Algorand and really flexed the strength of what Algorand could do in January, literally putting Algorand on top of real TPS transactions per second, and wasn't messaging. It was all, actual real transactions. And so we know what Algorand can do and what it can do even in DeFi. I mean, and even, Solana, a lot of people are touting it flipping Ethereum index volume for, a 7-day period, or even in NFTs. Like, that stuff is happening. I think Algorand could be and should be the next one to step up. But let's dive into some of that. Tell us a little bit about what, who you guys are, and, and why you decided to create Vestage, and why you decided to create Vestage on Algorand, and why you're excited about it.
I don't know, Greg, you want to tackle that?
Why we're excited about Algorand in general, or DeFi on it? Because I guess these are two different questions.
Go with the, one, why are you excited? Let's since we had the conversation kind of there, why are you excited about DeFi on Algorand? Let's go there first.
Okay, so the question is kind of self-explanatory. If you actually have tried swapping on even on Solana, that currently is hoarding out of all of that volume, all of that liquidity. Even yesterday, when the UP coin, this recent airdrop was happening, this basically exploded Solana to the point where any swaps were impossible to make. You couldn't make anything. If you were just trying to use the dexes that were available to normal people, this was just not possible. Even if you set slippage to like 20%, it would just not go through because there was so much volatility. And on Algorand, these problems don't exist, and they wouldn't exist even if we had such a high amount of volume. And the problem here is essentially trying to show that we wouldn't have those problems, but we can't because we don't have that much volume. So the thing that you mentioned with oranges and juicing, that was my kind of approach to this, where I was trying to make something that tries to utilize the chain to its fullest potential, to make it to use basically as much of it as possible, and it succeeded quite well, to the point where indexers couldn't handle it, but not the network. The network was doing completely great.
Now, it'd be kind of interesting to ask you this question if you know this about Solana, you know, because obviously if the dexes and the wallets are kind of having that issue of, you know, swapping whatnot, you know, because Algorand kind of experienced that the chain continued, you know, on without a hiccup, you know, when the juicing and stuff and the transactions, you know, ran sky high. But obviously if you were using Para or you know, maybe trying to swap on Vestage or something, it seemed like there was a lot of issues, you know, people were experiencing. Is that similar to what maybe Solana experienced as well, or was it a chain issue there?
It's not quite similar to what Solana experienced, because when Solana has had high throughput problems, it has been the underlying chain that has halted. Whereas when we had the problems that we experienced, it was essentially two main things. One of them was that we had hard-coded, most dApps out there hard-code a fee structure that doesn't really fit when there's high demand. So Algorand has a fee scaling mechanism where if you are in a situation of high demand, you need to pay more for X or Y transactions, just as a way to like counteract DDoS attacks and whatnot. Most people don't do that because we have never had a high throughput situation on mainnet. So when the Aura launch happened and we suddenly were on that situation, what happened is that a lot of these dApps on their front end or on their wallet interface or on their whatnot, they had hard-coded this, and they never allowed it to be a variable. So because they had never allowed it to be a variable, it was just failing because the fees that they were paying weren't enough to be appended to the current block. And then the second one was that a lot of infrastructure providers, they run their infrastructure assuming that we're going to have a volume of, I don't know, 10,000. And when Aura launched, we had a volume of like 1 million, you know, like 100x what usually the chain experience, or 1,000x what the chain usually experience.